Nigeria is daily losing thousands of its competitive workforce that are dearly needed for development to Western countries. A barrage of unresolved imbalances, inequalities, poor economic management, unabated corruption, nepotism, ethnicities, among others, have dragged the country's abundant natural resources and its productive human capital into poverty. The World Bank in June 2003 said 93.8 million people were living below poverty line in Nigeria, and with the petroleum products subsidy removal, the World Bank warned that people living below poverty line may hit 101.9 million. Informed youths who believe they could have better personal returns on their education and capital development are doing all they could to migrate through the next available legal route. Welcome to the inquiry on BBC World Service with me, Olaonipekun Adeyemi. Each week, one question, 4 experts, witnesses, and announcer. This week on the inquiry, we are asking, why are Nigerians going to study in UK universities? A word that has gradually found its way into the lexicon of Nigeria is Japa. It's a code name given to people deserting the country with the singular goal of exploring opportunities abroad. The word Japa has become so popular that it appeared on headlines of almost all newspapers in Nigeria published in English language and even on the BBC. Top-ranking government officials like governors pretentiously refer to it as if they were setting policies in place to address the brain drain. Part 1.
My name is Azua Matus. I am a journalist and the publisher of Daylight's online newspaper, Lagos, Nigeria. Yes, talking about Japa and its effects on Nigerian, especially youths. Let's start by defining the word Japa. Japa simply means, it's a Yoruba word that simply means to run, flee, or escape. Japa syndrome is rampant in Nigeria for me. I'll pick reasons why Japa syndrome is very rampant in Nigeria. First is the fact that most Nigerian youths have lost faith in their country and their nation. Secondly, they feel the only way they can make it and live a good life is by leaving their country and going to Western nations such as maybe Canada, US, UK. And it's not their fault. When you wake up as a graduate, you have no job. What do you do? Think of alternative. When you wake up as a father, a young father, there's no food on the table. What do? You want to escape your country to live a good life elsewhere. So I don't think our youth should be blamed for jackpotting. If the system is working, if it is okay, if there's job or employment, I'm sure most Nigerians will not jackpot. They are jackpotting because they see no future in the country. And surprisingly, even those that have jobs are also jackpotting. Not because they don't have jobs, but because they want a better future and better opportunities for their children.
Much has not changed since 2014 when 20 job seekers were stampeded to death in a phony recruiting exercise coordinated by the Nigerian Immigration Service in Abuja and Port Harcourt Stadia, as well as other centers. Each of the applicants pays $6 to apply. Since then, recruiting exercises in Nigeria have got messier. Many ministries, departments, and agencies of government no longer advertise opening or recruitment. Rather, politicians, top government officials, or retiring officials share opening among themselves. And when they do not have members of their immediate families to occupy the job, they sell the slot. It's common to find unemployed youth being asked to pay up to 5 million naira to buy a job slot.
Nigeria today is man no man. To get a big appointment, you must know somebody. To be in government, you must know somebody. To be a top politician, you must know somebody. To work in Apex government parastatals, you must also know somebody. So people that are not privileged hardly get these opportunities. So they feel the only way they can get out of this mess is by jackpotting. I think jackpot is also part of leadership failure. Because if leadership is right, Not just want to stay at home and work. Some parents are also jackpot for sake of security. They feel they're no longer secure in their country. But the main reason for jackpot for me is economic advancement. People are leaving this country because they see no future. They believe the government has failed them. Of course, there's a new government in town, but they still believe the government has failed them. Imagine somebody being a graduate for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years without having a job. There's no future for most of these people. Well, some of us in Nigeria here, still striving, still struggling, because we believe all of us must not jackpot.
After waiting for more than 2 decades without improvement, many young people decided to move on with their lives, noting that it might take a longer time for the government to get its act together. Looking closely at some unimaginable things that people do to come out of the situation, as you said.
In the community where I live, in the last 6 months, over 12 members of the community have left. Most of them are even landlords. Some sold their houses to move abroad for greener pastures. Not only for themselves, but also to make sure their kids have better opportunities outside of our shores. I know a banker friend of mine, a bank manager who has left his banking job to jackpot. I've asked him why. He said, "My brother, this country is not safe. This country has no future for me and my kids. Mostly my kids. I wanted to go abroad where to have better opportunities to compete with their fellow human beings. Not where somebody will come and tell them that, no, you can't get this person because you're not from this tribe or you don't know that person." So the effect of Japan Nigerian nation is huge. Like two things for me. The best way to start Japan is for us to get leadership right and create an enabling environment for our youth to thrive. A country where the youths are hopeless will not fly, will not progress. The youths are the engine room of a nation, they're the fulcrum of a nation. A nation without a youth is hopeless and set for doom. Some have sold houses to jackpot. Some sold their parents' landed properties, vehicles to jackpot. Some succeeded, while some didn't succeed. You still come back and be crying.
Part 2. Economic angle to the movement. It is not a news that Nigerian medical doctors have traveled and worked across the world over the years, but the dimension in which an average professional is craving to migrate to Western countries these days is the news. Those who couldn't get a work visa to migrate consider undertaking a university course to gain entry into the UK or other Western countries through a student visa. A report last year showed that Nigerian students injected over £1.5 billion in 2021 into the UK economy. Professor Evans Osaboen, a professor of economics at Covenant University, looks at the implication of the movement of capital and manpower from Nigeria.
Okay, the implication can be far-reaching. One, we have seen the immediate implication, which is a serious pressure on our national reserve and also demand for forex. And we have seen that the naira has significantly crashed against most foreign currencies, dollar, for example, euro, for example, and pound sterling. The other application we have seen is what we call the brain drain, huge. These are skilled, highly talented, highly trained personnel that live in the country. For example, in a company where I have about 40 workers, skilled workers, IT workers, and currently I have less than more than half of those technical staff left. And so it's one that was the impact on the currency. Two, the brain drain, and then three, to also have a effect on business performances. Even most of the banks, I don't know the call names, also have some challenges because most of their technical guys use their e-channels also left, and they couldn't get person to replace. But once some bank did not just ensure that have a kind of understanding with those guys that if you are leaving, you can still keep your position, you can work forever you are. So you can say essentially the fourth one, which will impact on production. If activities are reduced, key workers are left, are leaving, the production will reduce, and then, of course, in the long run, to have a negative impact.
The economy is almost grinded to a halt. Nigeria has never been under the burden of debt in this manner. Yet the new administration sees nothing wrong with the bogusly sleazy salaries and allowances the government pays the political class while the economy is shrinking.
Present day government needs to actually make progress. We want to see deliberate and intentional steps towards fighting corruption. You can't tell Nigerians to bear the cost of living when they are seeing that just to go on holiday for National Assembly, we know how much each of them went home with. And we can't say you remove subsidy because the government is broke, and we are seeing how much is being spent on that the budget at Aso Rock Clinic is more than the budget for the whole entire health sectors in the country. So it doesn't make so much sense. So, in summary, if the government wants the youth to thrive and industry to thrive, the cost of doing business need to thrive. Cost of business has to go down. There should be core intentional step towards one, fighting corruption, and two, providing fighting insecurity, three, providing infrastructure, most especially electricity. If that is done, then the country, it's a matter of time, one will be surprised at the new Nigeria that will emerge. But you have to we have to be tackling them headlong. In summary, these issues are very crucial if government must harness the skills, expertise we have all over the world, and then possibly turn a brain drain to brain gain.
Recurrent industrial action in highly subsidized federal tertiary institutions is one of the challenging unresolved conundrum. As it were, the future in being educated seems to be in going overseas. Hence, many don't mind what it costs.
Most is also used as a leeway to seek a better lifestyle outside the country. Okay, most of them go when they go with their spouse, their wife and children, family along, because they see that they will have better returns to their education or better life over when they finish. They're much more so. The issue of insecurity we have seen over the last some years has also become worrisome. Where you have people are being killed, people are being maimed to the Fulani herdsmen and all of that. So all of that becomes lives become threatened. So people who can afford to live, how to live. So the issue of seeking higher education, quality of life, and much more so avoiding height of insecurity forms one of the bases why people are living abroad.
Part 3. Leadership failure. Distortion in effort and reward system is the biggest discontentment. In many situations, hardworking educated citizens do not have the pathway to escape poverty. The monthly income of someone on a minimum wage in the UK is higher than the salary of 3 full university professors in Nigeria in today's exchange rate. Councillors who need no academic qualification to vie for their seat in the council earn more than a professor who has spent more than 2 decades studying and teaching. The take-home normally does not take workers home except those who cut corners. Mr. Victor Aya, a public affairs analyst, reviews the Nigerian environment.
There are many factors. First and foremost, even to get a job is not easy. That is one factor. That is why a lot of people are moving out. Because after spending many years in the university, going to the National Service, the Youth Service Corps, to serve your country for 1 year. When you come out, you may not get a job, except you have a connection. That is, you are linked with politicians, the ruling class. Those are the people that easily get a job. And another thing that is making people to move out is that the inflationary trend is so high. In 2015, before the advent of this APC-led government, a loaf of bread that was sold at 100 naira there is now selling for 900 and 1,000 naira. So the inflationary trend is so high. Whatever you earn is eaten up by inflation. So whatever you were buying, the things we were buying at the cost of 100 naira in 2015 has risen to 1,000 naira. That is why if people cannot cope, they are moving abroad. So these are the factors that are pushing people out of the country. Then if you talk about the aspect of education too, a lot of students are moving out because if you are looking for admission in Nigeria, it's a Herculean task. You have to make your WAEC. After making your WAEC, you write JAMB. You pay for JAMB. After writing JAMB, you pay for the money. You pay money to get your result. Having gotten your result, the school you apply for, we ask you to write a post-JAMB test again, which you are going to pay for. So all these barriers are making people to be frustrated. The fact that you are paid for all this examination is not a guarantee that you are going to get admission. The reward system is so poor. It's so poor that you are left with nothing.
Beside the poor remuneration that workers get, the state of neglect of the infrastructure and abject condition of service make everyone to wonder whether there is government in the country. A doctor died in Lagos Island General Hospital in August 2023 when the lift she was in fell from the 10th floor, in a classic example of the state of disrepair of public infrastructures. Roads, houses, vehicles, to mention a few, are in deplorable condition.
It's a simple problem, but those in the root class have made it to be a Herculean task. There's nothing so special about all these things. If other countries are able to do it, Nigeria should be able to do it. Countries that they don't have the resources that we have. But as I've said earlier on, as long as the members of the ruling class don't patronize the hospital, they don't have interest in them, and that is why they are not equipping them. And if they equip them, the issue of lack of equipment that is pushing doctors out of Nigeria will stop. Then secondly, they have to increase their salary and allowances so that they can get a better remuneration. Above that, inflation must be combated, because if there is inflation in the country, no amount of money you are going to earn will be enough for you. So they have to fight insecurity. Because of insecurity, people cannot go to farm. Herdsmen are slaughtering farmers, raping women, killing women. For that reason, they cannot go to their farms to cultivate. And if people don't cultivate, if farmers don't go to farm to cultivate their farms, how do we get food to eat? And you know that if people cannot get food to eat, they will go to anywhere where they can get access to food. So insecurity must be combated. Once insecurity is combated and people are able to go to their farms to cultivate their farms, are able to harvest, then the prices of foodstuff will come down. Then government should build houses too, because another thing that is taking toll on the incomes of Nigeria is house rent. Because government does not build the houses, the few houses that we have in Nigeria are being chased by multitude of people. That is why Shylock landlords are increasing their rent every now and then. So if you cannot afford it, before you even leave, another person has to apply for that house.
Rather than addressing the infrastructural debacle, an evolving means of moral suasion to stem the rate in which professionals are relocating to other countries, the federal lawmakers are considering a compulsory 5 years of service for doctors and dentists who graduated in the country before they could be issued their certificates. Will this legislation meet the standard requirements of the fundamental human rights?
That bill that is being considered by the National Assembly will not pass through, because that is an oppressive bill, which even some members of the National Assembly are against it. Because if you say you want to delay somebody for 5 years, that means the person will never graduate, because once you graduate as a medical doctor or as a dentist, the first thing that will be given to you is your certificate. So how are they going to delay it? They don't even have the capacity to do that, because that means those in the medical field will never graduate, because when you graduate, you get your certificate before you go to serve in the National Youth Service. So how are they going to do that? and it's against the freedom of expression, freedom of movement. Article 15 of the International Human Rights says that everybody has the right to move to wherever he wishes to go. And in Nigeria cannot be an exception. Even in the biblical days, with the children of Israel, they migrated to Egypt, where they were enslaved for 400 years before they gained independence, before they gained their freedom. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria that you have to make a law to prevent people from moving from one place to the other. It cannot happen. So that bill cannot pass through. It's going to be like a camel passing through the eye of a needle. So it will never pass through. It cannot work. It's not possible.
Nigerians are impoverished by its ruling class, yet the allegiance of a lot of the citizens is towards this ruling class. The majority of them maintain parochial sentiments handed down by the elite, who cause disunity among the followership and make it difficult for them to have the common front needed to change the status quo.
Other country where a senator earns as much as 35 million a month. Tell me which other country where a member of House of Representatives is earning as much as 25 million naira a month. What is left for the citizen, the ordinary citizen of the country? And that is why they are not able to pay people that are not working. Even those that are working have not been properly paid. Is it the people that are not working that will be paid? So it's not that it's a rocket science. It's not difficult, but because, and again, it's not the fault of the leaders alone. We are so divided, the masses. If we are united, we push them away. Like what happened in Sri Lanka just 1 week, because of increasing in prices of things, they flushed the president away. It was in a foreign land that he resigned. But here in Nigeria, if you call for a protest, this one say because my brother is there, you are a Yoruba man from your name. No Yoruba will protest against Tinubu. If it is an Igbo man that is there as president, you call for protest, the Igbos will not support. Hausa will not support. So, and you know that a common man is said that he divided, united we stand, divided we fall. So Nigeria, the masses are so divided along ethnic divide, along religion, along region, along statehood. These are the things that are making the members of the ruling class to oppress, suppress, and ride on the people.
Almost every individual in Nigeria lives with stress and pressure from multiple sources. The threat to life portended by kidnappers, bandits, and terrorists is one of the major drivers of the movement.
Buy something 100 naira today, you go back tomorrow, the price might have gone up to 150 to 200. That is hyperinflation. And so whatever you earn cannot buy anything for you. And above that, the insecurity situation is so high. People are not just migrating because of only job, looking for job. This insecurity is another problem. You travel from one place to the other. If you are not fortunate, you can be kidnapped. And if you are kidnapped, they will ask your parent, your relative to bring to pay a ransom of 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, when you don't even have money to feed yourself. So that is why people are running away. So it's not just about job too. Those that have the opportunity to live will live, because it is the people that somebody that is alive that will look for money, that will look for opportunity. So the insecurity is contributing to the migration.
Part 4. Professionals in diaspora. Having lived in an environment where unemployment rife, Nigerian students arrive in the UK with zest, fully ready to multitask themselves as full-time students and part-time workers. How long are they ready to stay? One of the leaders of Nigerian students community, Barrister Ezinta, speaks from his vast knowledge of his community.
Based on the issue of bad governance, most of our leaders or politicians who are seriously into corruption or embezzlement of public funds. This has created a lot of disconnection, poverty, anguish, and deprivation to the citizens of Federal Republic of Nigeria, which has pushed the citizens of Federal Republic of Nigeria, mostly the youth, most of the citizens of Nigeria, to migrate to UK, come to UK for the purposes of doing their masters. But at the same time, most of these students, in all honesty, are also coming to this very country for economic reasons, which is the economic migration reasons, seeking greener pasture. But the only legal pathway to migrate to United Kingdom, presently to settle.
He believes the non-availability of jobs in Nigeria is directly connected to the political class financial impropriety. Like many Nigerian students, he believes there are more opportunities for graduates in the UK than in Nigeria.
UK, United Kingdom have more opportunity for students who have graduated to grow, to become a better person, and to start, contributing to the growth of the society. Reason being that Nigeria as a country, unfortunately, because of the issue of the bad leadership, because of the issue of corruption by our leaders who convert and embezzle public funds that were meant for development of the country, unfortunately are diverted by one so-called powerful politician or individuals. And nobody questions these individuals, nobody holds them accountable. And this makes it that the citizens of the country, most especially the youths who are, studying, going to university, at the end of the whether within Nigeria or outside Nigeria, unfortunately, when they finish, most of them don't have the opportunity to secure job or gain employment in their area of, discipline.
We return to the question, why are Nigerians going to study in UK universities? The answer is in every other sentence. The political class has mismanaged the country. Nigeria presently services its debt with about 90% of its income. Subsidy removal has pushed inflation to 24.8%. Poor leadership has brought everything to ground zero. In the face of unending public infrastructure decay, hyperinflation, poverty wages, sales of job slots at a price 2 years' salary cannot pay up, hence initiating an employee to corruption from their first day in the office. The youth must rethink. Undaunted youth attempting to challenge the prevailing deprivations are often confronted with institutionalized arm-wielding non-state actors, ushering, kidnappers, terrorists, fraudsters, just to mention a few. These militia control large percentage of the territory and charge taxes. Getting anything done requires that you know somebody that knows somebody. Good governance seems to have become a rocket science in Nigeria. The followership cannot successfully push for a change because they are divided along parochial, religious, ethnic, and political sentiments sown by the leadership. This group of sit-tight politicians supplant and recycle themselves without giving fresh idea and opportunity. Rather, they say power is not given. The only practical survival mechanisms for the civilized professionals is to quietly move somewhere else. Until the situation changes, Nigeria's human capital will continue to migrate to places of higher returns. This edition of The Inquiry was presented by me, Olaolunkwekwun Adeyemi.